The night had already decided it would be unforgiving when the flashing blue and red lights bloomed in the rearview mirror, cutting through the darkness like a sudden wound. Daniel Carter eased his aging sedan onto the shoulder with hands that had learned patience the hard way, the kind earned from years of raising a child alone and holding himself together when everything else had fallen apart. He had pulled over countless times in his life for life itself, for exhaustion, for grief, but never like this, never with a sense that something unseen was about to reach into his chest and turn his past inside out. The cold air pressed against him as he stepped out, unaware that the next few minutes would reopen a chapter he had buried so deeply he believed it no longer existed. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of unexpected moments to change lives, take a second right now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from, because stories like this connect hearts across the world. Daniel was not pulled over because he had done anything wrong. He had noticed the patrol car ahead stopped awkwardly on the roadside, hazard lights blinking unevenly, the hood slightly raised like a silent plea for help. Being a single father had trained him to stop when something felt off, to step forward even when fear whispered to keep moving. His daughter, Lily, was asleep at home, trusting him to always return, and that trust lived heavier in his chest than any fear. He slowed, pulled over behind the cruiser, and stepped out, his breath fogging the air as he scanned the quiet road stretching endlessly in both directions. The female officer stood beside the car, shoulders tense, posture professional but strained. Even before she turned, something in Daniel's chest tightened. There are moments when the body remembers before the mind does, when a familiar ache rises without explanation. When she finally faced him, the world narrowed to a single, devastating point. Her face was older, shaped by years and responsibility, but the eyes were the same. The same eyes that once laughed with him under summer skies, the same eyes that had filled with tears the last day he saw her walk away. Emily Ross was a name he had not spoken aloud in over a decade, yet it echoed through him like a bell struck too hard. Time did something strange then. The hum of the highway faded, the cold bit deeper, and Daniel felt himself freeze, caught between who he had been and who he had become. Emily did not recognize him immediately, not until his face settled into the light and memory stirred behind her composed expression. Recognition came slowly, like dawn breaking through clouds, and when it did, it carried weight. The past stood between them, unspoken but loud, shaped by love, loss, and choices neither had known how to survive at the time. Years earlier, Daniel had been a man full of plans but short on stability. Emily had dreamed of wearing the uniform she wore now, of protecting others, of proving she could stand strong in a world that often tested her. Their love had been real, intense, and fragile, strained by financial hardship, long hours, and a tragedy that would eventually tear them apart. When Daniel's wife had passed away shortly after Lily's birth, leaving him a widower before he had learned how to be a husband, Emily had tried to stay, but grief is a storm that drowns even the strongest swimmers. She had left believing she was making the least painful choice for both of them, unaware that Daniel would carry that departure like a scar that never healed. Standing there now, Daniel saw not the woman who left, but the woman who had become someone else through discipline, service, and sacrifice. Emily saw not the broken man she remembered, but a father etched with responsibility, eyes softened by love and loss. The silence between them was heavy but not hostile. It was filled with everything they never said and everything they had survived. Daniel moved past the shock because helping was the reason he had stopped. He examined the car, hands steady, instincts sharp. Years of fixing what he could afford to fix had made him capable in quiet ways. He worked methodically, aware of Emily watching, aware of the strange tenderness in the air. The engine trouble was simple enough, a loose connection that only needed patience and care. As he worked, memories surfaced uninvited, nights spent planning a future that never came, mornings filled with hope that later dissolved. Emily, for her part, felt something shift that night. She had learned to keep emotions locked away, to function under pressure, but seeing Daniel awakened something human and vulnerable she had buried beneath her badge. She noticed the way he moved, careful and unassuming, the way his presence felt steady rather than demanding. It made her wonder about the life he had built after she left, about the child she had once imagined helping raise. When the car finally responded, engine humming back to life, relief washed over them both, but neither was ready to leave. There are moments when closure arrives not with grand speeches, but with quiet understanding. Emily learned through simple observation that Daniel was not asking for anything, not forgiveness, not explanations. He was simply there, helping, the way he always had. Daniel returned to his car afterward, heart heavy but strangely lighter at the same time. He drove home under a sky that seemed different now, stars brighter, road less lonely. He thought of Lily, asleep in her bed, and felt grateful for the strength that had carried him through years of struggle. He realized that seeing Emily again had not reopened wounds as much as it had shown him how far he had come. Emily finished her shift that night with a mind full of reflection. She thought about the cost of choices, about the people left behind when ambition and fear take the wheel. She thought about the man who had stopped not because he had to, but because he chose kindness. In the days that followed, she found herself thinking about Lily, about the father who raised her alone, about the quiet heroism that never makes headlines. Life did not magically change for either of them overnight, but something had shifted. The past loosened its grip, making room for forgiveness that did not need to be spoken aloud. Daniel continued being the steady presence his daughter needed, now with a heart a little less burdened. Emily carried her badge with renewed humility, reminded that every stranger holds a story, every face a history. Years later, Lily would learn about that night not as a tale of regret, but as proof that kindness echoes forward, that even the most painful chapters can end with grace. Daniel would teach her that helping others, even when it hurts, is how we honor who we are and who we've been. If this story is touching something inside you right now, if it's reminding you of your own past, your own second chances, please take a moment near the end of this video to like it, share it, and leave a comment, because your engagement helps stories like this reach hearts that need them. Comment what moment moved you the most and why it stayed with you. The road that night returned to silence after the lights faded, but the impact of that brief encounter lingered far beyond the shoulder of the highway. It lived in the quiet confidence of a single father who realized he had survived more than he ever thought possible, and in the steady resolve of a woman who remembered that beneath every uniform is a human heart still capable of feeling, forgiving, and believing again.